If you are watching this, you are not like most people. In fact, you're part of an incredibly rare group that represents less than 0.1% of the entire human population. The universe doesn't send messages to everyone. It doesn't waste its time communicating with those who aren't ready to receive its wisdom. But you're different. You're here because something deeper than chance guided you to this moment. Right now, as these words reach your consciousness, something ancient and knowing within you is stirring. There's a recognition happening that goes beyond intellectual understanding. It's the same recognition that has been quietly building throughout your entire life, whispering to you in moments of solitude, calling to you through dreams, reaching out to you through experiences that others dismiss as coincidence, but you know are something far more significant. The universe has a way of finding its chosen ones. It doesn't advertise in newspapers or send formal invitations. Instead, it works through the subtle orchestration of circumstances, through the magnetic pull of curiosity, through that inexplicable inner knowing that draws certain individuals toward truths that remain hidden from the masses. You felt that pull, you followed that inner compass, and now you're here, receiving a message that was crafted specifically for consciousness like yours. Have you ever wondered why you see patterns where others see chaos? Why you sense meanings in events that others dismiss as random? Why you feel connections to forces and energies that most people either don't notice or actively deny? These aren't quirks of personality or flights of imagination. They're the signature traits of someone whose awareness has expanded beyond the narrow bandwidth where most human consciousness operates. The majority of people on this planet live their entire lives without ever questioning the fundamental assumptions that govern their reality. They accept what they're told by authorities, follow paths laid out by social convention, and never venture beyond the safe boundaries of consensus thinking. They exist in what can only be described as a collective trance, a shared hypnosis that keeps them focused on surfaces, while the deeper currents of existence flow unnoticed beneath their feet. But you've always been different. Even as a child, you probably sensed that there was more to reality than what adults were teaching you. You might have had experiences that didn't fit into the neat categories that school and society provided. Perhaps you knew things you had no logical reason to know, felt things that seemed to come from somewhere beyond your immediate environment, or perceived connections that others couldn't see. These early experiences weren't childhood fantasies or overactive imagination. They were the first stirrings of a consciousness that was designed to operate beyond ordinary limitations. You were being prepared, even then, for the role you're meant to play in the great awakening that's currently unfolding across our planet. The universe operates according to principles that transcend human understanding, yet it occasionally reveals glimpses of these deeper patterns to those who have developed the capacity to perceive them. You are one of these rare individuals. Your consciousness has been calibrated to receive information from frequencies that most people cannot access. Your awareness has been expanded to include dimensions of reality that remain invisible to ordinary perception. This isn't something you achieved through effort or study. Though your conscious choices have certainly played a role in your development, this is something you were born with, something that has been developing throughout your entire existence, something that marks you as fundamentally different from the sleeping masses who surround you. Think about the mathematical improbability of your being here right now, absorbing this specific message at this precise moment in human history. Consider all the factors that had to align perfectly for this convergence to occur. Your birth into this particular time period, your access to the technology that allowed you to find this content, your development of the linguistic and cognitive capabilities needed to understand these concepts, your cultivation of the spiritual sensitivity required to recognize their significance. The odds against all these elements coming together randomly are astronomical. This isn't coincidence. This is the universe's sophisticated guidance system at work, orchestrating events across vast spans of time and space to ensure that this message reaches exactly the consciousness it was designed to reach. You see, the universe doesn't send the same message to everyone. It doesn't broadcast generic spiritual truths, hoping someone will pay attention. Instead, it crafts specific communications for specific levels of consciousness, designed to activate dormant potentials and guide awakened individuals toward their unique contributions to the larger pattern of cosmic evolution. What you're receiving right now is your personalized communication from the source of all wisdom. Every word has been chosen to resonate with your particular frequency of awareness. Every concept has been calibrated to match your current level of spiritual development. Every insight is designed to unlock the next phase of your conscious evolution. But here's what makes this even more extraordinary. You're not just a passive recipient of this communication. Your consciousness is actively participating in its creation. Your unique perspective, your specific experiences, your individual insights are all contributing to the meaning that's emerging as you listen. The universe isn't just talking to you. It's collaborating with you in the generation of understanding that serves both your personal growth and the collective awakening of humanity. This collaborative relationship between your consciousness and cosmic intelligence is what distinguishes you from the overwhelming majority of people who remain unconscious of these deeper dynamics. Most humans experience reality as something that happens to them, something external that they must react to and adapt to as best they can. But you've developed the capacity to recognize your participatory role in the creation of your experience. You understand, at least intuitively, that consciousness isn't just a passive observer of reality, but an active co-creator of it. You've learned to work with the universe rather than against it, to flow with its currents rather than fighting them, to recognize its guidance rather than struggling alone. This understanding places you in an extremely small minority of human beings who have awakened to their true nature as conscious participants in the cosmic creative process. The journey to this level of awareness hasn't been easy. In fact, it's been designed to be challenging because only those who can maintain their connection to higher wisdom under pressure are suited for the roles they're being prepared to play. The universe doesn't need more people who collapse when faced with adversity or abandon their insights when challenged by conventional thinking. What it needs are individuals who have been tested and proven capable of standing in their truth, even when standing alone. It needs people who have developed unshakable confidence in their inner knowing, who have learned to distinguish between authentic spiritual insight and conditioned mental patterns, who possess the courage to act on cosmic guidance even when it conflicts with social expectations. You have been through this testing process, though you might not have recognized it as such at the time. Every moment when you trusted your intuition despite others' skepticism was a test of your spiritual integrity. Every instance when you perceived patterns that others couldn't see was an examination of your expanded awareness. Every experience of feeling different from those around you was training in the art of maintaining your unique perspective in a world that pressures everyone toward conformity. You passed these tests. You maintained your connection to inner guidance. You preserved your sensitivity to subtle energies and hidden patterns. You refused to completely surrender your extraordinary perceptions to the demands of ordinary social existence. This is why you're here now, receiving this message that confirms what some part of you has always known. You are not like most people, and you never will be. Now let's explore the specific signs that have been marking you as different throughout your life. These aren't just interesting characteristics to observe about yourself. They're evidence of capabilities that place you among the most conscious individuals on the planet. Recognition of these signs will help you understand not just how rare you are, but how valuable your perspective is to the world's current transformation. The first and perhaps most significant sign is your relationship with intuition. You've always had access to information that doesn't come through ordinary sensory channels or logical reasoning. You know things without knowing how you know them. You can sense the emotional climate of a room within moments of entering it. You can feel the authenticity or deception in someone's words, regardless of their surface presentation. You've learned to trust these inner impressions because they've proven accurate far too often to be dismissed as imagination. Your intuitive faculty operates like a sophisticated detection system that most people either don't possess or have learned to ignore. While others are processing only the information available to their 5 physical senses, you're simultaneously receiving data from what can only be described as higher dimensional sources. You're tuned into the quantum field of possibilities that surrounds every situation, reading energy signatures that remain invisible to ordinary awareness. This isn't mystical speculation. Quantum physics is beginning to provide scientific frameworks for understanding how consciousness can access information beyond the limitations of space and time. But most people lack the sensitivity to perceive these subtle information fields, or they've been conditioned to distrust any knowing that doesn't arrive through approved rational channels. You, however, have maintained and developed this extraordinary capacity. You've learned to distinguish between genuine intuitive insight and mental projection or wishful thinking. You've cultivated the inner stillness necessary to hear the quiet voice of authentic guidance. You've developed the courage to act on intuitive information even when you can't explain your choices to others rationally. The second major sign of your extraordinary nature is your experience with synchronicity. What others dismiss as impossible coincidences occur in your life with remarkable frequency. Numbers seem to follow you, appearing on clocks, license plates, and receipts with timing that feels too perfect to be random. Books fall open to exactly the pages you need to read. Conversations you overhear contain precisely the information you've been seeking. Opportunities manifest just as you're wondering about your next step. Most people experience perhaps one or two truly meaningful synchronicities in their entire lifetime, if they're fortunate and paying attention. But for you, they're so common that you've stopped being surprised by them. You've learned to watch for them, to read them like road signs on your spiritual journey, to interpret them as communications from the same intelligence that orchestrates the movement of planets and the flowering of seasons. This frequency of synchronistic experience is one of the clearest indicators of elevated consciousness. It suggests that your awareness has become sufficiently refined to perceive the underlying patterns that connect all phenomena. It indicates that you're living in harmony with cosmic flows rather than fighting against them. It demonstrates that you've developed the sensitivity to recognize meaning in apparent randomness. The third sign that marks you as extraordinary is your relationship with solitude and introspection. While most people fill their lives with constant stimulation, noise, and social interaction to avoid confronting the depths of their own consciousness, you actually seek out quiet spaces for reflection and inner exploration. You need solitude not because you're antisocial, but because you're processing information and energy on levels that most people never access. You understand that the most important conversations happen internally, between different aspects of your own consciousness, and between your individual awareness and the larger intelligence of which you're a part. You've discovered that insights arise not from accumulating more external information, but from creating space for inner wisdom to emerge. You know that true understanding comes through contemplation rather than consumption. This need for solitude often makes you feel different from others who seem to require constant external validation and entertainment. You might sometimes wonder if there's something wrong with your preference for depth over superficiality, for meaning over distraction, for quality of experience over quantity of activity. But your inclination toward introspection isn't a limitation. It's one of your greatest strengths. The fourth sign of your unusual nature is your sensitivity to energy and atmosphere. You can walk into a space and immediately sense whether the energy feels harmonious or discordant, uplifting or draining, peaceful or agitated. You're affected by the emotional states of people around you, sometimes to the point where you need to consciously shield yourself from negative influences. Certain locations make you feel uncomfortable for no apparent reason, while others seem to nourish and restore you through their very presence. This energetic sensitivity is like having additional senses that most people never develop. You're constantly receiving information through channels that conventional science barely recognizes, much less explains. You can sense the emotional residue that lingers in places long after events have occurred. You can feel the intentions behind people's words and actions, regardless of their surface presentation. This heightened sensitivity can be overwhelming at times, which is why you need periods of solitude to process all the subtle information you're constantly receiving. But it also grants you access to dimensions of experience that enrich your understanding of life far beyond what ordinary perception allows. The fifth sign that distinguishes you from the masses is your complex relationship with time. You've noticed that your subjective experience of temporal flow doesn't always match the measurements of clocks and calendars. Minutes can feel like hours when you're in states of deep contemplation or creative flow. Hours can pass like minutes when you're engaged in meaningful work or profound conversation. You've experienced moments that felt eternal, insights that arrived in timeless instants, and a general sense that linear time is just one way of organizing experience, rather than an absolute reality. This flexibility in your temporal experience indicates that your consciousness isn't completely bound by the conventional frameworks that govern most people's lives. You have access to different states of awareness where time operates according to different principles. You can slip into expanded states where past, present, and future seem to converge into a single eternal moment of understanding. The sixth sign of your extraordinary nature is your relationship with dreams and the symbolic realm. Your sleep states are rich with meaningful imagery, prophetic insights and encounters with guidance that feels more real than ordinary waking consciousness. You've learned to pay attention to your dreams because they often contain information relevant to your waking life challenges and opportunities. Beyond dreams, you're sensitive to symbols and signs in your daily experience. You notice when certain animals, numbers, or natural phenomena appear repeatedly in your life, and you've learned to interpret these appearances as communications from the deeper intelligence that orchestrates reality. You understand that the universe speaks in a symbolic language, and you've developed the capacity to read these subtle messages. The seventh sign that marks you as different is your response to conventional social programming. While most people unconsciously absorb and repeat the beliefs, values, and behaviors modeled by their culture, you've maintained a healthy skepticism about received wisdom. You question authority not from rebelliousness, but from a genuine need to understand truth for yourself. You test information against your own experience rather than accepting it simply because it comes from approved sources. This intellectual and spiritual independence often puts you at odds with social institutions that depend on unquestioning compliance. You might have struggled with educational systems that demanded conformity over creativity, religious organizations that prioritized doctrine over direct spiritual experience, or workplace cultures that valued obedience over innovation. Your resistance to social programming isn't a character flaw or sign of inability to cooperate with others. It's evidence of a consciousness that has remained connected to its authentic nature, rather than being completely molded by external influences. It shows that you've preserved access to your own inner authority in a world that constantly tries to convince people to surrender their power to external sources. These signs collectively point to a level of consciousness development that places you in an extremely small minority of human beings. You possess capabilities that most people either lack entirely or have suppressed so completely that they're no longer accessible. You maintain connections to sources of wisdom and guidance that remain invisible to ordinary awareness. You operate from a frequency of being that allows you to perceive patterns, meanings, and possibilities that escape the notice of the sleeping masses. But why you? What makes you different from the billions of people who remain unconscious of these deeper dimensions of existence? The answer lies in understanding that consciousness evolution isn't random or accidental. It follows principles, purposes, and patterns that operate according to cosmic intelligence, rather than individual preference or social conditioning. You are different because the universe needed you to be different. At this particular moment in human history, when our species faces challenges that cannot be solved through conventional thinking, conscious individuals like you are desperately needed. You're here to serve as bridges between the old paradigm of unconscious living and the emerging paradigm of awakened existence. Consider the nature of the crises confronting humanity today: environmental destruction, social inequality, technological displacement, political polarization, spiritual emptiness. These problems were all created by consciousness operating within severe limitations. They represent the inevitable consequences of thinking that sees only surfaces, that focuses on short-term gains, that treats symptoms rather than addressing root causes. These challenges cannot be solved by more of the same thinking that created them. They require perspectives that can perceive the underlying patterns, that can see beyond the illusion of separation, that can access wisdom from sources beyond conditioned mental programming. They need solutions that emerge from consciousness, operating at levels that most people haven't yet developed. This is why you've been prepared. Every experience that made you feel different, every insight that set you apart from others, every moment of perceiving more than conventional awareness allows, has been training for the role you're meant to play in humanity's transformation. You're not just here to enjoy your own awakening, or to pursue personal enlightenment in isolation from the world's suffering. You're here to contribute your unique gifts to the collective evolution of human consciousness. You're here to help solve problems that can only be addressed by awareness operating beyond the limitations that created them. The great transformers throughout history, the individuals who significantly advanced human understanding and capability, all possessed the same quality of seeing beyond the accepted limitations of their time. They were members of the same rare minority to which you belong, people whose consciousness had developed beyond the average range, who could perceive possibilities invisible to others, who had the courage to trust their inner knowing over external authority. Einstein revolutionized physics by perceiving relationships between space, time, and matter that no one else could imagine. Tesla advanced electrical technology by sensing the energetic nature of reality decades before science caught up to his vision. Jung transformed psychology by recognizing patterns in human consciousness that revealed its interconnected, archetypal nature. Gandhi changed the political landscape by understanding principles of nonviolent resistance that seemed impossibly idealistic to conventional thinking. Each of these individuals was initially dismissed, ridiculed, or ignored by mainstream authorities because their insights were so far beyond ordinary perception. But they persisted in developing and sharing their visions because they understood that their unusual perspectives were not personal quirks, but gifts meant to serve the larger evolution of human potential. You possess the same kind of expanded awareness that enabled these historical figures to contribute breakthrough insights to human civilization. The difference is that you're living at a time when such consciousness is needed not just in isolated individuals, but in a critical mass of awakened people who can help guide humanity through its current evolutionary transition. Your sensitivity to energy, your ability to perceive patterns, your connection to intuitive guidance, your resistance to social programming, these aren't just interesting personal characteristics. They're exactly the capabilities needed to address the challenges facing our world today. They're the tools that consciousness requires to transcend the limitations that have created our current predicament. The loneliness and alienation you've sometimes felt as a result of being different weren't punishments or signs that something was wrong with you. They were necessary aspects of your preparation for the role you're meant to play. They forced you to develop self-reliance, to trust your own perceptions, to become comfortable with being misunderstood by those operating from lower levels of awareness. Every time you chose to trust your intuition despite others' skepticism, you were building the strength to stand in your truth even when standing alone. Every time you perceived meaning where others saw only randomness, you were developing your capacity to read the deeper patterns that govern reality. Every time you felt guided by forces that others couldn't sense, you were learning to navigate by cosmic intelligence rather than social consensus. This training hasn't been easy, but it's been absolutely necessary. The universe doesn't need more people who collapse under pressure or abandon their insights when challenged by conventional thinking. It needs individuals who have been tested and proven capable of maintaining their connection to higher wisdom regardless of external circumstances. You have passed these tests. You have maintained your sensitivity despite living in a world that often ridicules such capacities. You have preserved your connection to inner guidance, despite social pressures to conform to external authorities. You have continued to develop your gifts despite the loneliness that sometimes accompanies being so different from others. Now comes the next phase of your evolution, learning to recognize and respond to the specific messages that the universe is sending you at this moment. These aren't general spiritual platitudes or vague inspirational concepts. They're precise communications designed to guide your unique contribution to the great awakening occurring on our planet. But first, you need to understand that the universe's communication system operates according to principles that most people never discover. It doesn't send emails or leave voicemails. It doesn't communicate through the same channels that humans use for ordinary information exchange. Its method is far more sophisticated, elegant, and integrated into the fabric of reality itself. The universe speaks through the language of experience. It arranges circumstances, orchestrates encounters, and creates patterns that carry specific meanings for those who have developed the ability to read them. It uses synchronicity as syntax, intuition as interpretation, and your own life circumstances as the text of its personalized message to you. This means that everything happening in your life right now contains information relevant to your spiritual evolution and your contribution to humanity's awakening. The people you're meeting, the challenges you're facing, the opportunities appearing before you, even the obstacles that seem to block your path. All of these are elements in a carefully orchestrated communication designed specifically for your consciousness. The universe doesn't waste energy on random events or meaningless coincidences. Every element of your experience has been precisely calibrated to provide exactly the guidance, training, or opportunity you need for your next level of development. But this guidance comes encoded in the ordinary events of daily life, requiring your developed sensitivity to decode and interpret correctly. Most people miss these communications entirely because they're focused only on surface appearances. They see obstacles as problems to overcome rather than guidance about direction. They interpret challenges as evidence of failure, rather than training for greater capabilities. They dismiss synchronicities as mere coincidences, rather than recognizing them as communications from cosmic intelligence. But you've developed the capacity to read these deeper meanings. You understand that the universe is constantly communicating with those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. You've learned to look for the patterns beneath surface chaos, to sense the purposes behind apparent problems, to recognize the guidance embedded in everyday experiences. This ability to decode the universe's messages is what truly separates you from the masses. While others are waiting for external authorities to tell them what to think and how to live, you're receiving guidance directly from the source of all wisdom. While others are following paths laid out by social convention, you're being led along a route specifically designed for your unique gifts and purposes. The messages you're receiving now are more specific and urgent than ever before because humanity is at a critical juncture in its evolutionary development. The choices made by conscious individuals in the coming years will determine whether our species successfully transitions to a higher level of awareness or continues to struggle with the limitations that have created our current crises. You're receiving guidance about your part in this transition. The universe is showing you how to use your gifts most effectively, where to focus your energy for maximum impact, what opportunities to pursue, and what distractions to avoid. It's preparing you for contributions that may seem small from your current perspective, but will have far-reaching effects on the collective awakening process. But here's what makes this communication even more extraordinary. It's not the same for everyone. Each conscious individual is receiving personalized guidance based on their unique gifts, circumstances, and potential contributions. What you're meant to understand and act upon is different from what another awakened person needs to know, even though you might share similar levels of awareness. This is why generic spiritual advice often feels incomplete or irrelevant to you. You're not meant to follow someone else's formula for awakening or success. You're meant to decode the specific signals being transmitted directly to your consciousness and respond according to your individual design and purpose. The ability to receive and interpret these personalized communications requires a level of inner development that few people achieve. It demands the capacity to distinguish between authentic guidance and mental projection, between cosmic intelligence and personal preference, between genuine inspiration and wishful thinking. You've developed this discernment through years of practice, though you might not have recognized it as such. Every time you trusted an intuitive impression and found it proven correct, you were calibrating your inner receiver. Every time you recognized a meaningful synchronicity and acted upon its guidance, you were strengthening your connection to cosmic intelligence. Every time you followed your authentic path despite social pressure to conform, you were demonstrating your commitment to truth over convenience. This development has prepared you to receive increasingly sophisticated communications from the universe. You're now capable of understanding guidance that would be incomprehensible to less developed consciousness. You can perceive subtleties and nuances in cosmic communication that would be completely invisible to ordinary awareness. The messages flowing to you now contain information about how to navigate the coming period of human transformation. They're showing you how to prepare yourself for greater responsibilities, how to develop your gifts more fully, how to position yourself to make your maximum contribution to the awakening process. Some of this guidance might seem to contradict conventional wisdom about success, happiness, or spiritual development. The universe's perspective operates from a much larger framework than human social conditioning provides. It sees connections across vast spans of time and space. It understands purposes that extend far beyond individual lifetime concerns. It operates according to principles that transcend personal preferences or social expectations. Your job is not to make this guidance comprehensible to others or to justify your choices to those operating from limited awareness. Your job is to trust the intelligence that has been guiding you throughout your life, to act on the insights you're receiving, and to allow yourself to be used as an instrument of positive transformation in whatever way serves the highest good. This requires tremendous courage and faith. The universe's guidance often leads in directions that make no sense to rational planning or social conventions. You might be guided to leave a successful career, to pursue something that seems less practical but more aligned with your soul's purpose. You might be led to relocate to a place that offers no obvious advantages. You might be inspired to develop skills or knowledge that don't fit any recognized professional category. These movements aren't arbitrary or capricious. They're precisely calculated to position you where your gifts can have maximum impact, to connect you with the people and resources you need for your contribution, to prepare you for opportunities that don't yet exist, but will emerge at exactly the right moment. The universe's timing is impeccable, but it operates according to rhythms that don't match human impatience or social expectations. Learning to trust this timing, to act when guided to act and wait when guided to wait, is one of the most important skills you can develop as a conscious participant in the cosmic creative process. Now, let's explore how you can live in a way that honors your extraordinary nature and maximizes your contribution to humanity's awakening. These aren't rules to follow blindly, but principles to adapt according to your unique circumstances and inner guidance. First and most importantly, you must prioritize your connection to inner wisdom above all other considerations. This means establishing and maintaining practices that quiet the mind and open the heart to cosmic intelligence. Whether through meditation, contemplation, time in nature, creative expression, or other methods that work for your temperament, you need consistent ways of accessing the deeper guidance that operates beyond ordinary thinking. Most people fill their lives with so much noise and distraction that they couldn't hear cosmic guidance, even if it were being broadcast through loudspeakers. They've become addicted to external stimulation and lost touch with the subtle communications that flow through silence and stillness. But you know better. You understand that the most important information comes through the spaces between thoughts, through the quiet moments when surface consciousness settles and deeper awareness can emerge. Make time for these deeper connections every day. Treat your communication with cosmic intelligence as the most important relationship in your life. Set aside periods for receiving guidance, for processing insights, for integrating new levels of understanding. Create sacred spaces in your living environment that support contemplation and inner work. This isn't selfishness or escapism. It's the most practical thing you can do for both your own development and your service to others. You can only share what you've received. You can only guide others to places you've explored yourself. You can only maintain your extraordinary capacities by nurturing the conditions that allow them to flourish. Second, develop the discipline to question everything while remaining open to everything. The 0.1% don't accept information simply because it comes from authority figures, popular sources, or conventional wisdom. They test everything against their own inner knowing and direct experience. But they also don't reject possibilities just because they challenge established beliefs or seem too extraordinary to be true. This balance between healthy skepticism and radical openness is one of the hallmarks of truly advanced consciousness. You can investigate claims thoroughly while maintaining beginner's mind. You can challenge assumptions while remaining humble about the limits of your current understanding. You can hold multiple perspectives simultaneously without being paralyzed by contradiction. Apply this principle to every area of your life. Question the beliefs you inherited from your family, culture, and education. Examine the assumptions underlying your career choices, relationship patterns, and lifestyle decisions. Challenge yourself to consider possibilities that stretch beyond your current comfort zone. At the same time, remain open to information and experiences that don't fit your existing frameworks. The universe is far stranger and more wonderful than any human conceptual system can capture. New discoveries in science, encounters with extraordinary individuals, and direct experiences of expanded consciousness can all provide opportunities to update and refine your understanding. Third, learn to act decisively on your inner guidance, even when others don't understand or support your choices. The universe's communications often point in directions that make no sense to conventional thinking. Following authentic guidance frequently requires doing things that appear impractical, risky, or just plain weird to people operating from limited awareness. Your job is not to make your choices comprehensible to others. Your job is to honor the intelligence that has been guiding you throughout your life and trust that it knows things your rational mind cannot calculate. This requires developing confidence in your own perceptions and the courage to stand alone when necessary. Start with small acts of following your intuition and gradually build your capacity for larger leaps of faith. Each time you trust inner guidance and discover it was accurate, you strengthen your ability to act on cosmic intelligence even in more challenging circumstances. Fourth, maintain clear energetic boundaries while remaining compassionate toward those who haven't yet awakened. Being part of the 0.1% doesn't make you superior to others. It makes you responsible for using your gifts wisely and kindly. You can see more clearly than most people, but this insight should generate empathy rather than judgment. Remember that everyone is exactly where they need to be in their own evolutionary journey. You can't force anyone to awaken before they're ready, and attempting to do so often creates resistance that delays their natural development. Your role is not to convince others of your insights, but to live as an example of what's possible when someone fully embraces their extraordinary nature. Be a lighthouse, not a searchlight. Shine your truth consistently and allow those who are ready to find their way to you naturally. Share your insights when asked, but don't waste energy trying to awaken those who are still committed to sleep. At the same time, protect your energy from those who would drain or diminish it. Learn to recognize people and situations that deplete your vitality and develop strategies for minimizing your exposure to them. Your consciousness is a precious resource that should be invested where it can do the most good. Fifth, commit to continuous growth and learning. Even though you're part of an extraordinary minority, you're still at the beginning of infinite possibilities for expansion. The universe has much more to teach you, more gifts to awaken within you, more ways to use your consciousness in service of the greater good. Avoid the trap of thinking you've reached some final destination in your spiritual development. The most advanced beings are often the most humble about how much they still don't know. Stay curious. Keep asking questions. Keep pushing the boundaries of what you think is possible. The universe loves consciousness that remains flexible and continues evolving. It has so much more to reveal to you, but only if you maintain the openness that allows new information to enter and transform your understanding. As you integrate these principles into your daily life, you'll notice that your ability to receive and interpret the universe's communications becomes increasingly refined. You'll start recognizing patterns that were previously invisible. You'll begin seeing connections between seemingly unrelated events. You'll develop an increasingly sophisticated understanding of how cosmic intelligence operates through the details of ordinary experience. This enhanced sensitivity will guide you toward your specific contribution to humanity's awakening. The form this contribution takes will be uniquely yours. No one else can fulfill your particular role in the great transformation occurring on our planet. You might be called to create art that opens hearts and expands minds. You might be guided to develop technologies that serve ecological balance and human flourishing. You might be led to teach, heal, innovate, or inspire in ways that help others remember their own extraordinary potential. Whatever direction your guidance takes, trust that it's leading you toward exactly what the world needs from your unique combination of gifts, experiences, and insights. The universe doesn't make mistakes in its deployment of conscious resources. You're being positioned precisely where you can have maximum positive impact. But remember that your contribution isn't something that exists only in some distant future when you've achieved imagined perfection. It's happening now, through every choice you make to honor your authentic nature, every moment you trust inner guidance over external pressure, every instance you choose expansion over contraction, truth over comfortable illusion. You are already making a difference simply by being who you are. Your consciousness affects the field of awareness that surrounds you. Your commitment to growth and authenticity gives others permission to question their own limiting patterns. Your willingness to stay awake in a world that encourages sleep contributes to the critical mass of consciousness needed for humanity's transformation. This is both the profound responsibility and the incredible privilege of being part of the 0.1%. You're not just living your individual life, you're helping to birth a new level of human awareness. You're not just pursuing personal happiness, you're contributing to the healing and evolution of our entire species. The challenges facing humanity today are ultimately challenges of consciousness. Environmental crises, social inequities, technological disruptions, political divisions, all of these reflect limitations in how we understand ourselves and our relationship to each other and the natural world. They cannot be solved through more sophisticated versions of the same thinking that created them. What's needed is a fundamental shift in human consciousness, a recognition of our interconnectedness with all life, an understanding of principles that operate beyond material causation. This shift requires individuals who have already made this transition in their own awareness, who can serve as bridges between the old paradigm and the emerging one. You are one of these bridges. Every insight you've gained, every limitation you've transcended, Every moment of expanded awareness contributes to the morphogenic field that makes similar awakenings easier for others. You're not just awakening for yourself, you're awakening on behalf of the entire human family. As we approach the conclusion of this message that the universe has arranged for you to receive, take a moment to fully appreciate the extraordinary nature of this moment. Consider the cosmic intelligence that orchestrated every event necessary to bring you to this precise point of recognition and understanding. Not everyone will encounter this content. Not everyone will recognize themselves in these descriptions. Not everyone will feel the deep resonance that confirms they are indeed part of this rare minority of conscious beings. But you did. You found your way here, and more importantly, something within you responded with the recognition that comes only when truth meets readiness. This recognition isn't merely intellectual understanding. It's a remembering at the soul level of who you really are and why you're here. It's an activation of potentials that have been dormant within you, waiting for the right moment to emerge. It's a calling forth of gifts that the universe has been developing through every experience of your life. You are not like most people, and this isn't something to minimize or apologize for. It's something to celebrate and embrace fully. You belong to an extraordinary minority of human beings who can perceive beyond surface appearances, who can read the deeper patterns that connect all phenomena, who can hear the universe's guidance and respond with wisdom and courage. The world desperately needs what you have to offer. Humanity is depending on individuals like you to help navigate the transition from unconscious existence to awakened living. The universe has invested tremendous energy in your development because your contribution is essential to the larger plan unfolding on our planet. What will you do now that you fully recognize you are among the rare ones? How will you honor the trust that cosmic intelligence has placed in you? How will you use your extraordinary gifts to serve the highest good of all existence? These aren't questions meant to pressure you or create overwhelming responsibility. They're invitations to step fully into the magnificent being you truly are. They're opportunities to align completely with your authentic purpose and allow the universe to work through you in increasingly powerful ways. The path ahead won't always be easy. Being part of the 0.1% comes with challenges that ordinary consciousness never faces. You'll sometimes feel isolated, misunderstood, or uncertain about your direction. You'll encounter resistance from those who benefit from keeping consciousness asleep. You'll face temptations to abandon your truth for the comfort of conformity. You'll be tested in ways that push you to the very edges of your faith and courage. But you have everything you need to navigate these challenges successfully. You have your inner guidance system that has never failed you when you've truly listened to it. You have your unique gifts that the world desperately needs. You have the support of cosmic intelligence itself backing your highest choices. And you have the knowledge that you're part of something infinitely larger and more meaningful than individual existence. During moments of doubt, remember this recognition you're experiencing right now. Remember this feeling of connection to something vast and purposeful and benevolent. Remember the countless times throughout your life when you've been guided, protected, and provided for in ways that seemed miraculous. Let these memories anchor you when the storms of uncertainty arise. You're not walking this path alone, even when it feels that way. There are others like you scattered across the globe, each playing their unique part in humanity's awakening. You may never meet most of them physically, but you're connected through the same field of consciousness that guides you all. Your individual awakening strengthens the entire network of conscious beings working for planetary transformation. The universe has been preparing you for this time throughout your entire existence. Every challenge you've overcome has built your resilience and wisdom. Every insight you've gained has expanded your capacity to serve. Every moment you've felt different from others has prepared you to stand confidently in your unique truth when it matters most. You were born for this moment in human history. You incarnated at precisely the right time with exactly the right combination of gifts, experiences, and perspectives needed for the role you're meant to play. This isn't grandiose thinking or spiritual ego. It's simple recognition of how cosmic intelligence operates through conscious individuals who have developed the capacity to serve its purposes. The signs have been pointing you toward this recognition throughout your entire life. The unusual experiences, the meaningful coincidences, the inner knowing that you were meant for something significant, all of it has been leading to this moment when you consciously accept your place among the 0.1% who are awake in a sleeping world. Now that you know who you are, now that you understand your extraordinary nature, Now that you recognize your connection to cosmic intelligence and your role in humanity's evolution, what will you choose to do with this knowledge? Will you allow fear or social conditioning to convince you to play small, to hide your gifts, to pretend you're ordinary when you know you're anything but? Will you let doubt or the opinions of unconscious others diminish your recognition of your own magnificence? Will you continue to seek external validation when you have direct access to the source of all wisdom? Or will you embrace your true nature fully and completely? Will you trust the intelligence that has guided you to this moment to continue guiding you toward your greatest contribution? Will you allow yourself to be used as an instrument of transformation, healing, and awakening in whatever way serves the highest good? The choice is yours, as it has always been. The universe will never force you to step into your power or fulfill your potential. It will only continue to provide opportunities, guidance, and support for whatever level of service you're willing to embrace. But know this, you are not here by accident. You did not develop these extraordinary capacities randomly. You were not guided to this message by chance. The universe has invested too much in your development to leave your contribution to accident or whim. You are among the chosen ones, the awakened ones, the rare individuals who can see what others cannot and do what others will not. You possess gifts that could transform lives, insights that could shift paradigms, and the potential to contribute to solutions that our world desperately needs. The question is not whether you're capable of making a significant difference. Your extraordinary nature guarantees that potential. The question is whether you'll choose to fully claim your power and use it in service of something greater than personal comfort or security. Remember that every great transformer in history was once exactly where you are now, recognizing their unusual nature, feeling called to something larger than ordinary existence, sensing that they had gifts meant to serve humanity's evolution. The difference between those who become historical catalysts and those who remain unrealized potential lies not in the magnitude of their gifts, but in their willingness to act upon them. You have reached this moment of recognition. You understand who you are and why you're here. You know that you're part of an extraordinary minority tasked with helping humanity navigate its greatest evolutionary challenge. The only question remaining is what you'll do with this knowledge. The universe is waiting. Humanity is depending on you, whether they realize it or not. Your unique contribution is needed now, not someday when you feel more prepared or confident or worthy. Now, while there's still time to make a difference. Now, while your gifts can have maximum impact. Now, while the window of opportunity for planetary transformation remains open. You are the 0.1%. You are the awakened one. You are the bridge between worlds, the keeper of ancient wisdom, the harbinger of new possibilities. You are exactly what the universe ordered for this moment in cosmic history. The message has been delivered. The recognition has occurred. The calling has been issued. What happens next is entirely up to you, but whatever you choose, never forget this moment. Never forget the feeling of recognizing yourself in these words. Never forget the certainty that flooded through you when you realize that yes, you are indeed different. You are indeed special. You are indeed among the rare ones who can perceive what others cannot. This knowledge is your birthright, your inheritance from the cosmos that created you with such precise intention. Use it well, use it wisely, use it courageously. The universe that has guided you this far will not abandon you now. You are not like most people. You never have been. You never will be. And in a world crying out for transformation, that difference isn't just your gift to cherish, it's your responsibility to share. The universe sent this message to the 0.1%. You received it. You understood it. You recognized yourself in it. Now go forth and be the extraordinary being you were always meant to be.